programs. Thank you for watching RJ Digi TV.
Vaccination, isolation, gotta keep up with my nutrition, gotta maintain my body condition, then I can take my vaccination. What do I choose? What do I take? As long as it is not a fake. AstraZeneca, Moderna, BioNTech, even Sinovac, okay now. Babakuna ka ba? 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 Vaccination for the nation, no more isolation. With vaccination, babakuna ka ba? 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 Paturok, paturok, paturok.
You are watching the multi-awarded Radio Bandido TV on Channel 224 Sky Cable and TV Plus boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Informing, advising, and entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup.
Hello and welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJTV. My name is Eric Lecain and I'm joined as always with Lolly Tolentino. We're here to talk about stories going on around the world, some of the most interesting things that are on your mind at home, questions that you have sent in. We are right here on the radio on DZRJ 810 and RJTV channel 224 on Sky Cable and YouTube. RJAM News. So check us out there and subscribe. Now, Lolly Tolentino, I see that you are still in San Francisco, which is great. I love San Francisco. Are either that or you have a really great Zoom background. So, whichever it is, how are you doing, Lolly Tolentino?
Pretty good, Eric. You know what? This is a long distance affair. I'm in San Francisco. You are in. Oh, you're in Manila now. I thought you're
yes.
Right? Okay. So things so far so good. It's kind of gloomy today, but I think weather will be good, and we will enjoy Sunday.
I'll take whatever it comes. I'll take whatever weather it gives me. But today, right now, I'm looking outside and it looks okay. Not fabulous, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So, Lolly, do we have a lot of questions from our viewers today?
Oh, yeah. We have a lot. Okay, you want to start the ball rolling right now?
I was going to say, why don't we get that ball rolling? Because we always manage to run out of time at the end. So let's go ahead and roll it on. Of course, I'm going to check out the first thing that let me just see it here with my Anderson Cooper glasses,
good.
Or as you call them, Andy Cooper glasses.
Yes, you look great with that. So it's not only you, Eric. I'm also wearing I'm not sick and tired yet of my pink reading glasses. So here I am with my pink glasses
that we got at IQ Optical down at Cash and Carry. They do have stores all over Manila, but down at Cash and Carry is where we go. And currently they have a 50 to 70% off sale. And if you mention that you want to look like Eric Lecain or Lolly Tolentino from the World News Jam, they'll give you another 5% off. So You know, it's interesting, Lolly. You know, I always talk about the fact that these make me look like Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper is the news guy, the gay news guy from CNN that has adopted a child. It's okay, right? It's okay.
Isn't it if I'm not mistaken, the mother of Anderson Cooper is Gloria Vanderbilt, right?
Yes, although she's passed away. I forgot what his husband's name is, but in any case, Anderson Cooper is the guy that a lot of people in the Philippines, if you remember when the Tacloban issue came with the flooding and so forth, he was the guy that people were saying, Anderson Cooper for president of the Philippines. Do you remember that? But people loved him because he was criticizing the government for their response to Tacloban, and so people were saying, you know what, Anderson Cooper, the gay news guy from CNN, should be the president of the Philippines.
Fun.
But in any case, I like Anderson Cooper because I love the way he looks in his glasses, and I like the way I look in my glasses from IQ Optical down at Cash and Carry, and I love the way Lolly Tolentino looks in her pink glasses. So right now she's going to use those pink glasses and she's going to read the questions of the week from our viewers.
Okay. Let me start with Maita of Pasig. Okay. Always favorite subject. Why did Trump call Angela Merkel stupid and try to bully her while she's well loved by so many countries and people around the world? The way she lived and run the country, and retiring this fall. Wish we could have some leaders like her. Comment, please.
You know, this all stems from the trip that Angela Merkel just made to the United States with President Biden, I think. Currently, the U.S. and Germany have become allies again. If you remember, former President Trump moved away from having European allies with his America First ideas, especially from Germany, by calling its president, remember he called her the B word, B-I-T-C-H, Merkel, and then he said those effing Krauts. I mean, it was just one thing after the other, and like finally Germany was like, okay, enough of this. But according to this new book that's out, and there's a new book, there's like 3 books out a week now about Trump, the president also claimed numerous times that his father was from Germany. And it was at a press conference with Angela Merkel where she laughed when Donald Trump said that his father was from Germany. Because as everybody knows, his father was not from Germany. His father was from New York City, where he was born. But Trump tweeted a couple of times that Merkel was ruining Germany by letting in the refugees. However, you know, Trump basically thought that anybody that's not white is not good for your country. So he was basically saying that at the time that Merkel was stupid for letting in all these refugees. But that book that came out last week, it claims a lot of stuff that the military leaders were concerned that Trump would attempt a military coup in the United States, or some kind of illegal way of overturning election. And John Bolton, he came out, the former national secretary, who we've talked about a lot on the show, he came out this week and said that Trump, he didn't plan a coup because Trump is not smart enough to plan a coup. And he didn't have the backing of the military anyway, which you would, of course, need if you're going to do a coup. But, you know, he was able to get several hundred of his supporters to rush into the Capitol on January 6th, but the country was never in danger of being taken over by Trump. But anyway, the problems with Europe and Germany and so forth in the United States, they go back well before the insurrection of January 6th, when Angela Merkel came out and said, you know what, the European nations can no longer rely on the United States anymore. They cannot rely on the United States for support, and the United States can no longer be trusted. And, of course, Trump came out immediately and called her stupid and attacked her and everything because, you know, she's a woman and she's smart and she's loved by her country and she's respected by the rest of the world. And Trump hates people like that. So because, you know, Trump is not respected by his country and he likes to denigrate women. And we know that already. So, like many before they have a chance to say anything about Trump, he will attack them first, So it looks like it's even keel between the two. But according to German officials right now, after this meeting, they said things have gotten back to normal between the U.S. and Germany, and they can start to work on issues again like Iran and the nuclear missiles it wants, the gas pipeline from Russia, which Russia can shut off anytime it wants if it doesn't like what you're doing or what you're saying. And what about all the troops that Germany pulled out or that Trump pulled out of Germany on a whim? What about China? China is currently China is Germany's current largest trading partner. And people are wondering, is Germany going to side with the U.S. in the trade agreement, or are they going to make their own with Europe in regards to China? But Angela Merkel, she's done. She's done with the whole thing. She's been in power for a long time, in fact, 15 years. And she's just about, when her term is up, she's not going to run again. Because people say that if she ran again, she would most likely win, unlike Donald Trump.
Well, good. That's a good thing that, a good thing that happened is now the U.S. and Germany are back into their relationship. So that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
just let me, one thing I just want to make clear. Trump made one thing very clear to the world, that anything can happen in a United States election. Anyone, even a TV show host can get elected as the president. And they may make a deal with Biden, but you don't know what can happen in the next election. And what if Trump had gotten the support of the military? Where would we be now? And what if his followers would have been successful and killed, Congress people and all the things that they were trying to do? What if he killed the vice president? What if he killed the Speaker of the House? I mean, what if Trump was put back in president? That's what's crazy. Countries like Europe now are a little nervous about the United States because they don't know what could happen next. What is the long-term policy with the United States? Because the United States has always been trusted, but now you don't know. You don't know because we don't know what the American public might do, what decision they might make.
Well, you know what? That is, I'm gonna, sad about what happened in the past, but hopefully, during, this administration will, can really gain back all the trust of other countries.
Yeah.
I hope. Right for that.
We
anyway,
shall see.
Yeah, let's go to Malu, Pasay City. What is this? Top general feared Trump would attempt a coup after election, according to the new book. To me, this means he doesn't want to be out of power. That was very obvious.
Yeah, that was very obvious. I mean, this goes back to the book that came out last week, which I'm sure a lot of people have questions about what came out of that book, but one of the most interesting things that I think came out of that book is they are not going to effing succeed, which is what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said when they realized that Trump may be planning a coup with his followers. So he and several other military leaders came up with a plan to stop Trump if he tried to pull something like that. And at the time, the military leaders had planned to resign if Trump had decided to go ahead with his coup, which at the time scared a lot of people because people were like, well, if the military leaders resign, who would Trump put in their place? And Trump might put no one in their place. And he would just run the whole thing by himself. So, which is what the name of the book is. I Alone Can Fix It. That's the name of the book.
Oh, yeah. I saw the book, but saw the cover of the book, and I said, oh, my goodness. And you know what? During the time, remember there was this thing happen in Myanmar? Yeah. And I was thinking, what if Trump would think the way these people are in Myanmar, I was like, oh, I hope not. But, good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Myanmar was slightly different because it was the military that took over. The military themselves, because you need the military. But this book is fascinating because it looks at what the White House officials were doing after Trump lost the election, and how they were all scrambling to figure out what to do because he didn't care about running the country. He didn't want to know any more about the pandemic. He didn't want to know any more about China. He didn't want to know about what was going on here. And all he cared about was how am I going to fix this election so it comes in my favor? and he stopped all press briefings, all those security briefings, everything stopped. He was no longer running president. In fact, at that point, people say from within the White House, nobody was really running the country. It was just kind of going along. And it marks the first time in modern U.S. history that a top military leader, the top guy, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, had planned on how to stop a president from attempting a coup, and how he was so worried after the election that Trump would be putting people into positions into the Pentagon that were being purposely put there in order to stop the transition of power to the new president. He fired the defense secretary, and the attorney general resigned. And when they saw this happen, everybody's like, something bad is coming down. Something is going to happen. And, aside from the, January 6th storming of the Capitol, many thought that Trump was putting people in place in the military, factions in the military that were put there for one reason only, and that was to overthrow the government if he lost the election. The only problem that Trump had was he didn't have the backing of the U.S. military, and you need the backing of the U.S. military because they are the most powerful military really in the world, and you really are not going, a bunch of Trump supporters are not going to win against the U.S. military. And he didn't have the backing of the U.S. people. He didn't. I mean, his poll numbers have never gotten above 50 ever. Even in his most popular times. So I don't think Trump ever had a chance of really doing a coup. And he's still at it. He's still trying to figure out a way to get back into the White House, that he was cheated. It's called the big lie, and it keeps getting promoted, and people keep still, believing in it. So, what will Trump do next? Who knows? I mean, all we can do is ignore him, but we can't.
Yeah, because he's still noisy. He's still making a lot of noise. And you know what? I think it's really good that what happened. He did not win in that election. Otherwise, your America will be in really chaotic situations.
I mean, it's like a drunk friend at a party. I mean, if you ignore him, he'll probably shut up and sit down and go away. But then you can't ignore him because he's so obnoxious and he's running around talking to everybody. And he's so drunk.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go now to Imelda Mandaluyong. How scary is the latest news? Indonesia overtake India to become Asia's COVID-19 epicenter.
Well, the new number is 54,517. I had to remember that number. That's how many new cases are in Indonesia this past Wednesday in a day, which makes it the new epicenter of the pandemic in Asia. And this whole thing might not even be true. It actually might be much, much worse than this. Yes. A lot of this is happening in, rural areas in Indonesia, and they're not getting tested, so they're not really sure. However, a survey that they did shows that about half the residents of Jakarta have already contracted the virus, even though the testing doesn't show it. So, yes, it may be much worse. This is something that we have been talking about really a lot in regards to the Philippines. If you don't test, then you don't know how bad things really are. And then one day you wake up and then bam, you have the highest number of cases in Southeast Asia, or the second highest number of cases. Indonesia, though, did not do major lockdowns, and they didn't have good tracing plans in place. So they just didn't know. They didn't know how bad things were getting until now. And now they know. And currently the death toll in Indonesia is 69,210. Number of deaths in the Philippines is 26,300, something like that.
For more than a year.
Of course, the number of people in the Philippines is only 108 million, while in Indonesia is 270 million. But currently in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has the worst number of cases, and the Philippines right now is still in second place.
All right.
But, the interesting thing is Indonesia right now has more people vaccinated than the Philippines does. However, and the by percentages, by population, Philippines is actually the worst. But right now, everybody is focused on Indonesia. And before you comment, let me just say the big problem in Indonesia right now and maybe the Philippines as well, is that Delta variant, which is much, much easier to spread. And hospitals in Indonesia are running out. They're running out of oxygen supplies right now in Indonesia are nearing the end. So they're starting to do lockdowns in certain parts of the country. And, you know, like the Philippines, Indonesia's having problems with getting vaccines. Which is the key element to being able to put a curb on this problem is the vaccines, especially with the Delta variant starting to like merge out. They need to get more people vaccinated. And Indonesia's having the same problem. They don't have enough vaccines.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, most countries are not getting enough vaccines, so that's why there's a problem. It is not really the government, but it is the supply coming from different places. So there's really a problem here, not only in Indonesia, not only in the Philippines,
I can debate that a little bit, but you know, the interesting thing is this is not the only problem places in Southeast Asia. And I don't want to scare anybody, but Myanmar has reported a rise in cases. Of course, it's hard to trust anything that's coming out of Myanmar because there's a military coup going on right now. But the problem is that the hospitals in Myanmar are run by the military, and people are scared to go to the hospital because if they go to the hospital, their problem may not just be the virus when they get to the hospital. It may be something else, like, you know, and then they end up never leaving the hospital. But Malaysia has reported its highest number of cases ever in a day since the pandemic started. Thailand, where they're having a rise in cases, where the government now wants to start now. You know, this is what I've read in multiple sources. They want to start mixing the ingredients of the vaccines together. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, but the government has that idea that they want to mix vaccines. Korea has had to institute new social distancing guidelines because the cases in Korea are going up. Japan is under a state of emergency now. Japan's about to have the Olympics, and they have finally decided that no more spectators in the Olympics because they're having a rise in cases in Japan. So to think that this virus is like on its way out, all of a sudden, oh, you know, yikes, it's not going out. Yeah, Indonesia's having some problems and Philippines having problems, but so is a lot of other countries in Asia. This thing is rising its head up again.
Yeah. So that's why, you know, even though you are vaccinated already, just in case, you know, still be very careful because we don't know, especially now with the new variant. Oh my God, Eric. Okay, let's move to the next question. From Enchong of Pasig City. An 18-year-old will fly to space with Jeff Bezos after $28 million mystery bidder differ. What do you mean by that? Do you know about this?
Yeah.
18-year-old.
Yeah. So, as you may know, if you're really rich these days, you can build yourself a rocket and you can go into space. All the real rich guys are doing this now. It's the new thing. It's all, you know, it's awesome for publicity, and you can get your company, you know, more money, more things like this. And it's, you know, what better way to do this, like to get more publicity on this, is to auction off seats on your trip to outer space to people who are rich but not as rich as you. So thus, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, who made hundreds of billions of dollars during the pandemic, decided to auction off seats on his rocket. So someone bidded $28 million for a seat on his rocket.
Wow.
And they won. They won the auction. But the guy who put the money up decided not to spend money on a calendar. So he realized after he bid all that money that he was busy on the day of the rocket launch and had a conflict. I cannot even believe that this story is true, but this is what's really happening. So the guy bid $28 million and he did not have time to go on the rocket. So the seat will go up to the next highest bidder. Well, that person won a seat on the second trip and will move up to the first trip alongside Jeff and his brother and Wally Funk. Remember, talking about Wally Funk, the 82-year-old woman that we talked about, who was the trained in the women's program and the space programs back in the 60s, but didn't go because she was a woman. Anyway, she's finally going. So the guy that won the seat on the second trip is the CEO of some investment firm in the Netherlands, and he's going to send his son up, who is just 18 years old. So,
Awesome. Wow.
So it's good. Sometimes it's worth it to have rich parents. So this will be one of the first tourism rockets that you can take people up into space. So this will have the richest guy, the youngest guy ever in space, and the oldest person ever in space on one rocket.
Wow. That's so cool, huh? But, these days, it's really different. Imagine $28 million just to be, to be up there with Jeff. Oh my God!
But
I cannot. Maybe I should join them.
Lala, you should. Although, I gotta say, remember back when CD players were $8,000, and now they're free. Now people give them away now, and I have a feeling it's not going to be long until space flights are like cheap. Like a couple $1,000s and you can go up in space. I have a feeling that that's probably going to be pretty. But Lolly, if you go into space, and we would love to see Lolly Tolentino go into space because we could cover it right here on the show. But if you want to go, there are certain things that are required of you. First of all, right now, if you go, you're going to need some money. That's first thing. Second thing, you need to be 18 years or older, which you are. You must be able to climb 7 flights of stairs in a minute and a half.
Oh my goodness.
So you got to think about that. You have to be between 5 feet tall and 6'4", which some Filipinos are going to make it into that. You have to be able to fasten and unfasten your seat harness in less than 15 seconds.
Yeah, my God.
So think about that, Lolly. You have to spend an hour and a half strapped into a capsule, and the big one, you have to be able to withstand 5.5 Gs of force during the descent. So you need to go and test yourself on a roller coaster and see if you can withstand 5.5 Gs of force.
Wow, it takes a lot of training to do this, and really, this is really for a kind of young guy to do this, or you have to start your life doing these things, so you will be equipped. You kind of go out of space. So.
Hey, they're sending up an 82-year-old woman, so giddy up.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Bethel BGC.
Come on, bring the price down so me and Lolly can go.
Yeah, why did Megyn Kelly says that the media exaggerated the Capitol Hill riot? Does she really know what she is talking about?
Good old Megyn Kelly, the news host that was fired from Fox News. Yes, we know Megyn Kelly. We have talked about her on the show here. She said in an interview, there is no question that the media represented it much worse than it really was, talking about the January 6th insurrection attack on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. So when she said that, a lot of people said, well, wait a minute. Did you not watch the videos of the Capitol riot? Yeah. Did you not see the thousands and thousands of people rushing the Capitol, the 500 people that have been arrested and charged, the 140 police officers that were injured, the 5 people who died? I mean, I don't know. What could have been worse? I guess more people could have died. I guess that would have made it worse. Maybe if they could have been able to kill some congressmen, I'm not sure. But, and the fact that Trump said that these were peaceful people and he said they were great people, and, thinking of her, also this House of Representatives member came out and said, oh, you know what? This wasn't an insurrection. It was a tourism visit that got out of hand. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? A tourism visit? Yeah. And then they broke into people's offices and used the bathroom all over the floor in the U.S. Capitol. That's what tourists do. They were running through the Capitol looking for people to kill. So Megyn Kelly said, well, just because of a few bad actors, now all Trump supporters who were there are cast as bad people. Yeah. I think all of them, are, they broke in and, used number two all over the floor. I think that is not, this, Trump was impeached because of this. A president was impeached because of this. Now, he didn't get convicted by the Senate, but he was impeached. So I'm not exactly sure where Megyn Kelly is getting all this from, but I think it was pretty bad, even though she thinks that, well, it could have been much worse. Yeah, it could have been much worse. In 9/11, they could have blown up all of New York, but instead they only blew up the lower part. So, it could always be worse.
Well, the only thing I can say here is that she really doesn't know what she's talking about, and maybe she didn't watch the video. Maybe she just refused to believe that insurrection happened.
I know. I think Megyn Kelly's just trying to get more publicity for her new radio shows. Who knows? She's trying to stick with the Trump supporters, play both sides of it. I don't. I wonder sometimes what's going on in her head. I think that. There's no way that I think that she believes this. It's hard to think that she could believe it. I think it's, they're trying to figure out a way to get more of the people, the 30% of people that believe that Trump won the election, to watch her show. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know. I wish people wouldn't use the media to do stuff like this.
If you really don't know the facts, if you don't read, if you don't, do your research and everything, you better not be in that kind of position and for you not to talk about something which you don't understand, because you are a public figure and everybody look up to you. But if they believe you and what they say and what you say, so people will get confused. So Megyn Kelly, next time you do your research.
Yes, Megyn Kelly.
All right, let's go to
names.
Ren of Santa Rosa, Laguna. I love this question. What does the World News Jam think about hypersexualized vaccination campaign like this? Will they be effective? Did you see that video?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them now. So there's some great ads out there for vaccine, for getting people to take the vaccine. In fact, our own RJ DeCinto has a song out about getting vaccinated. Which, if you haven't seen it yet, it is hilarious. But, there's some real winners out. Elton John did a commercial, which is really funny, where he's taking instruction from a director. And there's this Chinese video, this great dance video, which is really well done. In the U.S. right now, there's actually a $50 million ad campaign for trying to getting celebrities to talk about people to get the vaccine, because right now there's 3 out of 10 people in the United States that still won't get the vaccine no matter what. They are Trump supporters. They are not going to get the vaccine. But France, the commercials I saw from France, they take a different route. Now, I'm not sure which ones you've seen, but they are super sexy. Like, one of them, the caption was, "Get vaccinated and get laid," which I thought was just, and they had another one that says, "Yes, the vaccine can have desirable effects," and it has a picture of a couple, and, they're in this very, clad, scandalous way. And the campaign in France is so popular that they're going to expand on it, making these really super sexual innuendo ads for getting vaccinated, because they think that it's going to really influence the young people to get vaccinated. I mean, if I was a young guy, Lala told you, let me ask you this. If you believe that you're going to get laid by taking a vaccine, would you take the vaccine?
Maybe yes.
Maybe yes. So we've heard it from Lala.
There's a good, because you have to be creative. You have to think of something that you can convince people in doing this, because what they're trying to do. This is a campaign from different groups, so why not? Everyone is thinking of something. I'll just share, Eric, with this one. Like, all the senior citizens in Makati now, if you got vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you will get a 1,000 pesos worth of gift certificate.
Yeah.
grocery item. There's so many ways to think about. So you can promote this thing. So these people are thinking of something else. So, like he said, hypersexualized vaccination campaign.
It's funny. France had a campaign for road safety before, and it shows this commercial, and this couple is about to have sex. You can tell that this is what is going to happen. They're about to have sex, and it says, "Life is better. Life is better than one last drink for the road." Which, it's very fascinating. And then they had another one with a very old, like a couple in their 80s, an old naked couple kissing and saying, "Life, love on the road. Don't forget what truly matters." So France has been, they've had this sort of thing going on for a while, and they think it works for them. So I guess if you believe that taking the vaccine is going to get you sex, I guess that is one way to get some people to take it.
Yeah, I think so. It's just a campaign, so it depends on how people will take it. Maybe the conservative will not like this, but this is not for the old elderly. This is for the young one, because I saw the video also.
Why can't it be for the elderly?
I mean, because some, like say for some Filipinos, they don't want to see this kind of thing.
Yeah, so of course, yes. Well, yeah, I understand that. But I saw the commercials, and some of them actually are they make you laugh. They're pretty funny. But that's what France thinks is going to get people to take the vaccine. Then go to it, France.
Yep. So, we would just have to respect, their ideas and how to promote or do their
Got
campaign.
some young French boy who can't get a girlfriend. So then he says, "But I got vaccinated." Where's the girls? Where are they? I got my vaccination card.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, you better prove it to me. Okay, I got my card.
Okay.
All right. Let's move to PAO of Aurora. Oh. Most part of the country now are under GCQ. Do you think this is practical to do, where there is Delta variant already in the country? What do you think of this?
Yeah, well, didn't Duterte approve the extension of the GCQ till July 31st?
Yeah, they extended it.
Because of concerns about the Delta virus. Intensive care facilities are starting to mount up again, especially in Makati and Muntinlupa. So, they're looking to impose travel restrictions on Malaysia, Thailand, trying to prevent this Delta variant from getting into the country. Mm-hmm. And this goes along with the travel restrictions that are already in the Philippines against India and Pakistan and Sri Lanka and the UAE and right now, Indonesia. So they should be very worried, I think, about this Delta virus because, we have the vaccine rollout has been rather slow and many, many people are very susceptible right now. And this Delta variant, it spreads much worse than the original virus, and they have proof of this. So the issue is going to be the vaccine rates in the Philippines and whether the variant is already here and whether it's got a foothold in the country yet. I mean, there's already been one death that I know of from the Delta variant and several cases, especially from people coming from the UAE, Qatar, the UK. There's cases popping up in Mindanao, in the Visayas region. So,
yes.
I mean,
well,
all I was going to say was, and you can comment on this, is lifting the lockdown restrictions right now. I don't think that's the right thing to do right at the moment. We said this exact same thing a couple of months ago, didn't we? Like maybe they shouldn't lift the restrictions now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, right now the Philippines wants to the government said they want to get 70 million people dosed this year. But experts are saying there's no way they're going to be able to do that. At the speed that they're going right now, it's impossible. Right now, the country only has 3.67% of the country is dosed. So, there's no way they're going to get, 70 million people done in this year. But they can step it up and get it going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, why not? That's the goal. I mean, we will try everything that we can possibly do. I mean, because if we get all the, the vaccine, I think we can do it. Because the target to get that 70 million herd immunity target is you have to have at least 500,000 a day people to be vaccinated. But how can we do that? We don't have enough yet. Well, it's coming, every day there are some, millions of different kind of vaccines. So why not? Why not? I mean, they can keep on trying to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the key. That's the key. If we can just really put this drive on vaccinations and get people to take it, somehow either,
Yes.
tell them that they're going to get laid if they get a vaccine. I think in the Philippines more like if you we'll give you money, and then a lot of people will get vaccinated. But that is the key. They've got to get people who are afraid to get vaccinated. And the fact that this Delta variant is popping up in Mindanao is what's really scary. Because if
Yeah.
it was in Manila, okay, fine, I understand that. But it's in Mindanao. It's in the Visayan region. It's in Iloilo. I was reading some places that it's popped up because of people coming in from other countries. That's the way it gets here.
Yeah. We talked about that last week, and then even our viewer says that we should really stop, accepting people. Coming from abroad because they're the one that brings the variant, not us here.
Yeah, or
we already
follow the
have it,
quarantine.
so let's not add.
Follow the
Right.
quarantine protocols. I mean, this wouldn't be happening if everybody was following the quarantine protocols. And I know in Manila, it's pretty strict. Once you go into your quarantine, you can't come out or you got to start over again. But I don't know what's going on in Masbate. I don't know what's going on in some of these places where, how is it getting out? How is it getting past the quarantine protocols? This is the question that the government, I think, needs to investigate.
Okay, let's now go to Emir of Alabang. What are the things should people do and enjoy now, even though we are still in pandemic? And the suggestions? What do you suggest, Eric?
Well, we talked about this subject before, and it's a really good subject to talk about. But because if you sit and watch the news all the time, it's depressing. I mean, I know I'm sitting here talking about things and I'm depressed at some of the things that I'm saying. So some people have suggested to share a video with your friends that is not that, something that will make them happy. Lolly Tolentino last week sent me a video of a puppy riding a duck.
Yes,
Isn't
it cute?
That made me happy. All right. So, someone singing a song that makes you emotional, something that's funny from TikTok, and then, someone else suggested make a video of yourself that makes everyone smile, something that you do for your friends and you send it to them. And, that's something to do, which is enjoyable to do and makes other people, laugh and smile. One other thing, and we've talked about this, and this is something that I did when I was stuck in quarantine, is, take this time to educate yourself about something. And these days, to say, to educate yourself is so easy because we have this thing called YouTube, and everything that you would ever want to learn is on YouTube. Learn a new recipe, pull out an old instrument, learn to play it again, or, take an exercise class. Everything's on YouTube now. I mean, I spent some time learning some computer software when I was stuck in quarantine. So, you don't have to sit and watch TV all the time. You can do something, use your mind. If you live in a house with a bunch of people, if you live in the house with your grandmother, teach your grandmother some new technology. I mean, it's a lot of fun to teach, try and, find an older person, teach them some technology. Write a letter, actually write a letter, and then photograph it and send it to someone because we don't use the mail anymore. We do everything on email. But I mean, it's do stuff that makes people happy. If you're not with your mother or father, or you're separated from your loved ones, one of the suggestions that I read was write a letter, hand write a letter and take a picture of it and send it to them. Things that are just going to make things that are going to make yourself happy and make other people happy. Sometimes that kind of thing is important.
Yeah. All right, that's a suggestion from Mr. Eric Lecain. And let's move to the next question because we have more from Solo Pasay. Why does the U.S. sue Amazon for selling dangerous products, and what are those?
This was a big story. This was a big story this week. The CPSC, which is the Consumer Product Safety Commission, believe that Amazon is selling stuff that can injure or even kill you. So the U.S. government is suing them. Some of the products include carbon monoxide detectors that do not alarm, children's pajamas that catch fire, and hair dryers that, when dropped in a bathtub, can electrocute you. So, I mean, in reading this story, just to make a quick observation before we get into the story, don't all hair dryers electrocute you? I don't know. If you drop a hair dryer in the bathtub with you, doesn't every hair dryer, do they make a hair dryer that won't electrocute you?
You know what they said? Because, I think if you there's some water and then you drop something with electricity.
Anything.
I mean, with electric, I think
if you drop anything in the water, it's going to electrocute you, isn't it? I don't know. And let me ask you this. It said children's pajamas that burn. What pajamas don't burn? Like if you put pajamas in a fire, I mean, maybe they'll burn less, faster. I mean, some of it I think is almost sounds like they need to put a label about stupidity. Like if you're taking a bath, don't dry your hair in the bathtub with the dryer unless you're really stupid, and don't set your kids on fire. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it's kind of an odd thing. Now, I know that Amazon has said that most of the products that are being discussed are from third-party sellers, people that are selling on their platform, not actually their products. So, anyway, so when the CPSC made this thing, you know what Amazon did? They stopped selling those products. But the U.S. was not satisfied, and it said that it wants Amazon to recall everything that it sold that it deems is dangerous. So I don't know if that's every single hair dryer that they've ever sold. I'm not exactly sure, but the CPSC is trying to force them to, it looks like, do something that they're already doing. Amazon's been in trouble before. I remember it was a little while ago where they were in trouble on some of their own products that burn and melt and blow up and burst into flames. When you're a company like Amazon and you sell that many products, some of those products are going to come from countries like China and Sri Lanka, whatever. And some of that stuff, you can't check everything. So, but Amazon claims that safety is their top concern. But, just thinking about this thing, Lolly, I mean, everything is potentially dangerous. If you buy a mirror, you could break that mirror and a piece of the mirror could fly into your eye. So, do they need to put a label on it that says, if you have greasy fingers, don't hold on to this mirror? Because then it would need, you would need a long list of things because, they need to put a label on everything that says, if you were stupid, you shouldn't own this product. Because sometimes, of course, you can get yourself hurt on just about anything. So I wonder how far they're going on this. Just reading it, I was just surprised. Yeah, okay, Amazon should not sell dangerous products. They shouldn't sell stuff that when you plug it in and you're using it as it's intended to be used, if you plug in a power supply and it blows up, that should be taken off the market. But I mean, if you take everything that will electrocute you off the market, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of things. So I don't know exactly what they're trying to get at here.
We just have to be careful in buying things online, because this is like you order online, right? Because it's different really when you buy, any stuff. I mean, you can see it from the store, but if you buy it from, well, I don't know, it depends. If it is a repeat order or something, maybe you already use it and it's good, so maybe you can reorder. But then if it is first time you're going to buy that whatever, may not be safe. I don't know. So be careful when you buy anything.
All right, be careful. If you're in the bathtub, don't dry your hair. Service announcement from here at the World News Jam.
Yes.
In other words,
all right, let's go.
Stupidity is not a reason to sue somebody. Okay.
Let's go to Amit Option 1. Is this true? U.S. Air Force are sending dozens of F-22 fighter jets to Pacific amid tension in China. Are we expecting war between China?
We've talked about this before. It's true. I mean, the U.S. Air Force is sending dozens of F-22s to the Pacific amid the tension in China. And, are we expecting a war with China? I mean, these are military exercises. But the timing of it, the timing of what the U.S. is doing right now is very, very obvious. It's, they're sending a message to China to say, hey, we just want to make sure that you know that we can put this many fighter planes in the air in very short notice. And, to make sure they understand that China has about 20 to 24 fighter jets while the U.S. has like 180. So China, you may want to reconsider this if you're trying to think that you can win the war in the air, because we are much more, we have a lot more guns than you do. And it's called Operation Pacific Iron. Yeah. What does that mean?
Wow.
And it shows off the new Raptors, the 5th generation fighter jet. That's the most advanced fighter jet in the world. It has all this stealth technology and onboard sensors. So basically, if the Chinese want to do another flyby on Taiwan that they did, 2 weeks ago? We were talking about the flyby on Taiwan, and go into Taiwan's airspace. The United States can get there really quickly. But this is just a practice session, just to be ready, just in case there's an outbreak of something, some kind of, war or something goes on. So they're running it. Part of the reason they're doing this is to be able to run these jets in and out of small airfields, like in Guam and the Mariana Islands. And so by doing this, they're better equipped to deal with these long-range ballistic missiles that China has. So if China were to pop off one of these ballistic missiles, they can scramble jets in like a moment's notice and be in Asian airspace in like a very, very short amount of time with a lot of firepower. So China, if they're thinking about, China, if you're watching the show right now and you're thinking about shooting a ballistic missile into one of the allies of the United States, be careful, because they may have some F-22s or some Raptor super planes flying over China and shooting you up like right afterwards.
Okay, you better watch our show, China, so you will hear the update. All right, let's go to Tonio Pandaluyo. As of yesterday, Philippines has already 16 Delta variant in different regions. And I noticed people in NCR are going out, including children from 5 years old. How can we protect ourselves again? What if Delta spread like fire?
This includes that cluster in Cagayan de Oro, which, and as we said before, it's overseas workers coming back into the country. And there's no real good way right now to monitor what's happening in the rural parts of the Philippines. I mean, they're supposed to be quarantined. I mean, but if they're quarantining correctly, this virus can't get in. It can't, this is the question that a lot of people have been asking. This is something the government really needs to figure out soon, because this new version, it's really contagious, like 60% more contagious. And according to what the science community has said, this variant cannot just happen on its own. It must be introduced into the country from the outside. And, banning some countries from coming to the Philippines, it may be too little too late, because it's already here. And there's no way to really tell how far that it has spread. Just because there's 11 recorded cases now in the country doesn't mean there's actually 11 cases. And if this gets ahead of the Philippines, because right now the Philippines is loosening restrictions now. People are starting to ease up. A lot of people are not wearing masks and are becoming less fearful of the virus. So still, and so many people don't want to get vaccinated. And I talk to these people every week. This is a recipe for disaster. And all they need is one real super spreader event, something like a concert or a wedding or something. And before you know it, 50 people at a wedding get it, and then they go out and they give it to, each person gives it to 2 people, and then they give it to 2 people. And before you know it, now we have, the Delta variant just, going like they said, spreading like wildfire across the Philippines.
Yeah, I think, again, guys, you better be careful, don't, and even though you get vaccinated, still be careful, wear your mask and face shield. And for those who are not yet vaccinated, please, I'm appealing to you. Lali Toledo is appealing to everyone. Get vaccinated soon.
Listen to Lali.
Yes. Let's go to Minerva of Makati. Okay. That's a good question, Eric. How do you handle pressure and stress these days?
How
do you?
We discussed this before. And it's one of those things it's one of the top things on people's mind. I mean, people are stressed out. Money is something on everybody's mind right now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you can do, and I've done this myself and looked this up or whatever, find a good routine. Make sure you get up at the right time every day. Find positive people in your life. Do the best you can to stay healthy. Don't do things that are going to be unhealthy. Help each other. Practice self-care, which is not so easy to do sometimes. I know in this kind of thing, meditate. Don't spend all your time on social media. Practice talking to people. I mean, right now, I don't know anybody that's not stressed out. Everybody's stressed out, and people are doing stupid things. And we need to, take a step back and look at, okay, this is what we're in right now, and this is how we're going to have to deal with it. You need to come up with a way of dealing with it, because if you don't, you could end up, this could end up lasting for years, even though the virus is over. And it's going to. I mean, it's going to. This is the new normal, and it's just a tough time, and I don't know anybody that's not under some kind of pressure or some kind of stress right now with money and family and issues going on in their life. So the best thing they can do is like I said, I made a little list of things that I use. The big one is practice self-care. That's something we forget about, and that's something that we all need to do because, we're all in this together.
Yeah. Okay. We still have question and okay. Yeah, a little lighter type of question from Iggy of Iloilo. How do you handle loneliness and love life, Eric Lecain?
I don't know if this is lighter. I think this is darker.
Loneliness.
I mean, people say, love can endure anything, but, has love been in a COVID pandemic? I know a lot of people that have lost, foreigners, especially foreigners, who have lost their fiance and their girlfriend and their current wife because of this pandemic and nothing else. I mean, people think, well, there must be problems, whatever. The pandemic was the problem. That's what caused a lot of this. And, people that left the country and they couldn't come back, like, for instance, me. You live here for many, many, many years. You have a life here. You have people here, your friends, all your loved ones. Everything is here. And then you have to go out of the country for some reason. And then all of a sudden you can't get back. And they say, well, okay, you can come back next month. And then next month turns into 3 months and into 6 months and into 9 months. And then before you know it, you've been gone for a year and you're living in a place by yourself. And all you have is, FB Messenger. To talk to the people that you left behind. And some people, they just can't wait. And a lot of people have lost their loves of their life because they just couldn't wait, or they didn't believe that they were going to ever be able to come back. And this goes to show of people who are together in the Philippines, and they have to spend too much time together. And all of a sudden, money is a major factor in the relationship. And, too much of something is never too good. And, you're used to having breaks from your wife. You go to work, or you go out with friends, or you go to a club or your sports team or whatever. But now you have spent 24 hours a day with one person, and that can be trying on your love life. I mean, I'm just saying, I was in a house in another country for an entire year. I didn't have anybody around me that I was close to. And, it kind of makes you crazy. And eventually people get tired of chatting. People need face-to-face. No matter how much you love somebody, something like this happens. It tests all the possibilities of what your relationship means. And I just think, this is something that I think that we haven't focused on enough, maybe. Because I know a lot of people, I just happen to know a lot of foreigners that have lost the love of their life. People that had visas all ready to go, that they were going to go back to their country and get married, and now they've broken up.
Mm-hmm. Well, too bad if that happened to them. But in I think the way things are, I think we have to do something about it. Personally, we have to think of the things that can make us happy, and trying to avoid loneliness. And if you have a love life, that's a different story. It's easy for loneliness because you can do something. Okay, Eric asked me why I become lonely.
Lolly Tolentino, why are you lonely?
If I am lonely, the only made me lonely is when I don't have money. Because if I have money, I can go out and do the things that I want to do, right? Because if I go out and eat by myself, that's fine, right? I can shop, do the things that I. So if you don't have money, which is a lot of people are complaining about it, they cannot do anything. They just stay home and get really, really bored. And I told them, okay, why don't you have internet, just do the things that you can do online, okay? And if you have a cell phone or you can telephone, just call somebody, your relative, your friends, and update what's going on. So there's a way to do things. So if you can get a pet, if you love dogs, whatever you can, but those are kind of high maintenance sometimes. It depends on the breeding of the dog, right? So so money is part of the loneliness sometimes, or maybe you're empty because you cannot do anything. You're away from your family. You want to visit your family, you cannot do it.
I know.
Because
I know.
if you go to the province, when especially now with the restriction, right? So you cannot just go. So you cannot see your loved ones. You cannot, even myself, I cannot even see my father because of some restrictions. So, but it's a matter of, again, I will say this over and over again, the mindset. Change your mindset. We can be happy and we can not be lonely. We can make fun of people. We can make fun of our friends. It's a matter of how to enjoy our life with other people. We are alone, like me. Right?
So, ladies and gentlemen, Lolly Tolentino, change your mindset. That is the phrase of the day. That is our mantra of the day as our show closes down, as we have to change our mindset because we are out of time here on the World News Jam. So for me, Eric Lecain, and Lolly Tolentino here from the World News Jam on DZRJ and RJTV. And head on down to IQ Optical to get your 50 to 70% off. And don't forget to say you want to look like Eric Lecain or Lolly Tolentino to get that extra 5%. And Lolly and I will be back next week. Everybody, please be safe out there. We'll see you next week.